I usually don't do videos like this, but it's kind of coming to a head here where I feel like I got to talk about a few things. So, the complaining, or I would say kind of the crybabiness of some hockey fans when it comes to the NHL playoffs. Now, I see a lot of it with the Maple Leafs and complaining about the officiating. And listen, the Marchand Bertuzzi thing, yeah, that should have been called. I'm not going to sit here and say it was clean. It wasn't. But the Maple Leafs in that game, just for the record, had 5 power play opportunities. The Bruins had 3, and they converted on their 2. The Leafs converted on 0. How many opportunities do you need to succeed? And there was a lot of calls missed on dirty things the Leaf players did. They just let the boys play at certain times. I just I hate, I guess, that aspect of the fandom of any fandom. Because I'll say this in game 2 when I saw like on a Bruins board people complaining about, oh, Matthews, he closed the puck, his hand on the puck and threw it down. I'm like, listen, there's been more egregious plays in the past. Like they didn't call it. They haven't called it in the past. That was just a phenomenal play. Heads up, like catches it like a wide receiver, throws it down, goes on a breakaway and scores on Allmark. Like that was just a fantastic play. I'm not gonna sit here and like cry and complain about it. I now critiquing players and like kind of pointing out certain things, I think that's fine. But to blame the refs, it gets old, and especially for, I guess in that game 3 for the Bruins, where they had two more opportunities than the Bruins to convert, and they didn't. At some point in time, the Leafs just gotta convert. I mean, Matthews had a very solid game too, but you have 5 opportunities on a power play. Yeah, you should score on at least one of them. I mean, the Bruins were 2 for 3, and if you followed the Bruins for most of the season, especially towards the later part of the season, that power play was anemic for the most part. So it's kind of cool to see them finally convert, and they've converted at a high clip during this playoff series. It's just for me seeing fans and seeing even videos made, and just I guess that whiny attitude. It's like at the end of the day, and maybe this is just kind of my perspective on it, regardless of the external forces, if you lose, it's on you. It's on your team. It is what it is in that regard. You didn't do enough. There were certain opportunities you didn't convert and you lost. And it's okay. There's, next game, right? You can go to the next game, and if you lose the series, you lose the series. But to kind of have the cop out of constantly blaming the refs or constantly blaming the league, it just kind of gets like, all right, a little bit ridiculous. And I'm going to kind of tag along Vegas in this video. I understand people aren't happy with the LTIR thing. I completely get it. I do think teams should have to be cap compliant in the playoffs. That would solve a lot of these issues, right? But if your team could do the same thing, they would. And how would I put this? Vegas's general management, is so intelligent that they make these trades and they make sure it works under the cap. I mean, looking at that roster, I think we can all agree that is not a wild card type team. That's like one of the better teams, if not one of the best teams in the NHL type roster. They're stacked. And do they use the current system to their advantage? Absolutely. But I'm not going to... this is another thing I say, like, oh, Mark Stone's faking it. He had a grade 3 laceration of his spleen, I believe it was. They're not going to just... They're going to have to check documents, make sure how things go. I don't think they're going to allow a team to falsify that information, right? I just think it's a little bit ludicrous to think that's the case. How about we just take appreciation, or have appreciation for how much of a warrior and a badass Mark Stone is. Dude's had back procedures, like I said, spleen laceration. Jesus, that just sounds painful, right? Just dealing with that recovery, right? Because a lot of it's, that's internal. You really can't control. I mean, your body is your body. He's had some debilitating injuries that would cripple most players, that would have players become completely ineffective. But he comes back and just, because he's such a great leader, just wills himself to be back for the playoffs and be a valuable member to the team. It's not like he's a ride-along. The guy is great. I mean, played with Tomas Hertl and didn't really get any game time with the guy and looked solid with him. Like, Stone is the perfect captain. And I think what he's done, while it does aggravate some fans because they're like, oh, well, look, they're just putting him on LTIR to circumvent the cap. And maybe Stone could have been back for the last game of the season. I don't know. None of us are medical professionals. I'm not going to, sit here and pretend to be on YouTube like everybody else does. But at the same time, Knights are they're just taking advantage of a system that's in place. Now, how you can fix that? Again, just make the salary cap enforced. But you deal with the hand you were dealt. That's it. The Stars know that going into this isn't going to be an easy series. Unfortunately, and I'm going to be doing a recap for the Stars. They lost again tonight. Knights won 3-1, up 2-0 in that series. And I don't think it should be really that shocking. The Vegas Golden Knights are the defending Stanley Cup champions that had such a large amount of injuries during their season that it impacted their roster. And that's another thing I actually would mention, is that it is kind of incredible that Vegas kind of still made the playoffs with some of the injuries they dealt throughout the year. Like, they had a lot of players miss time, and they still persevered and made it to the playoffs. That's incredible. Then they made, deadline acquisitions like Hannafin, Hertl to increase the roster and get, prepare themselves for a deep playoff run. If the Knights do ultimately come out of the Western Conference again, it's not like this season was an easy one for them. Like, they had to face a lot of adversity. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'll even label this video. It's just for me, at the end of the day, whether your team wins or loses, it is what it is. And to blame the league or blame the referees for it, I just think is foolish. Now, if Marchand was just for shearing everybody, right, and not getting called, we have a completely different conversation. But I don't know. Maybe it's just my opinion. I felt the same way when I saw the Austin Matthews play. So much complaining on Bruins boards, and it's like, okay, really? This is what we're going to do? Oh, we lost because Austin Matthews done that one play. No, you lost because of a terrible defensive play, and the Leafs were playing well in that game. But I don't know. I'd like to know your thoughts in the comment section. Maybe I'm just the old man yelling in the wind, yelling into the clouds, and being like, crybaby stuff gets a bit old. So, all right, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Am I right or am I off the mark? See you in the next one.